The day was heavy, like the sky itself was pressing down on her shoulders. She woke up with the same thought that had been haunting her for weeks: what's the point anymore? Her name doesn't matter right now, because this could be anyone's story. It could be your neighbor, your best friend, or even you. From the outside, she looked fine. She smiled at people, nodded when they spoke, and pretended she had it all under control. But on the inside, she was exhausted. Exhausted from trying. Exhausted from pretending. Exhausted from hoping that maybe tomorrow would feel different. That morning, as she stared at herself in the mirror, she didn't recognize the reflection staring back. Her eyes looked dull, her shoulders slumped, and her heart felt numb. She whispered under her breath, "I can't keep doing this. I can't keep fighting when nothing changes." She thought about all the mistakes, the failures, the times people left her when she needed them most. She thought about how life kept taking and taking, while giving her so little in return. And for the first time, she truly wondered if giving up was the only way to silence the noise inside her head. Her phone buzzed. Messages she didn't want to answer. Responsibilities she didn't want to face. The world kept moving, and she felt left behind, like she was drowning in slow motion while everyone else was breathing freely. She didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want people to see her broken. So, she hid. She wore her strongest mask, but deep inside, she was crumbling. And on that particular day, the weight of it all pushed her to a place she had never been before. It's the place where silence feels louder than words. The place where you don't cry anymore because even tears feel too heavy. The place where you sit in the dark, wondering if anyone would even notice if you disappeared. This was the day she almost gave up on life. She walked through the day like a ghost, physically present, but emotionally gone. At work, people laughed around her. At the store, strangers exchanged small talk. On social media, it looked like everyone else was living their best life. And she? She was stuck. Invisible. Fading. When she got home, the silence of her room wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the floor. Her thoughts raced, colliding with each other in an endless storm. Why am I still here? Why keep fighting a battle I'll never win? It wasn't that she wanted to die. It was that she wanted the pain to stop. And in her mind, she couldn't see another way. That's the part people don't always understand. Sometimes, the fight isn't against life itself, but against the weight of carrying wounds that never seem to heal. She reached for her journal, the one place where she could spill the thoughts she never said out loud. Page after page, she poured her heart out, the loneliness, the disappointments, the nights she cried herself to sleep. And as the ink bled into the paper, so did her pain. Hours passed. Darkness filled the room. She hadn't eaten, hadn't spoken, hadn't moved. Just sat there, fighting an invisible war inside her mind. Every breath felt heavier than the last. And then, it happened. That quiet, terrifying moment when she almost decided to let go. But just as she reached the edge, something small interrupted her spiral. A message on her phone. Simple words, "Hey, I was just thinking of you. How are you?" It wasn't long. It wasn't poetic. But it was enough. Enough to remind her that maybe, just maybe, someone cared. Enough to remind her that maybe she wasn't as invisible as she thought. Enough to remind her that even in her darkest moment, light could still break through. And in that fragile moment of hesitation, she paused. She breathed. She held on. She didn't magically heal overnight. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. But that single message, that tiny reminder that someone saw her, kept her from making a decision she could never take back. The next morning, she opened her eyes, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a spark of hope. Not a fire. Not a blazing passion. Just a spark. But sometimes, a spark is all you need to keep going. She realized something important. sometimes it isn't about having all the answers, or fixing everything at once. Sometimes, it's simply about surviving one more day. Taking one more breath. Believing that the story isn't over yet. She started small. A walk outside. A meal she actually enjoyed. A conversation where she told the truth instead of pretending. And slowly, the walls she built around herself began to crack. She wasn't alone after all. She found out that people did notice. That people would care, if only she let them in. And most importantly, she realized that her life, messy and complicated as it was, still had meaning. Looking back, she thinks about that day often. The day she almost gave up on life. And every time she does, she whispers the same words she wishes she could tell anyone who feels the way she once did. Your story isn't finished. The pain you feel now is not the ending, it's just a chapter. Hold on. Even if it's just by a thread, hold on. Because one day, you'll look back and be grateful you stayed. And maybe this story is not just about her. Maybe it's about you too. Maybe you've had days where you've almost given up. Maybe you felt invisible, broken, or tired of fighting. If you have, let this be your reminder, you are not alone. The fact that you're still here, still breathing, still listening, it means you're stronger than you realize. So, don't give up. Not today. Not tomorrow. Because your life has meaning, even if you can't see it right now. The day she almost gave up on life became the day she learned to fight again. And that fight? It saved her.